Hey everybody, good evening. Today we're going to work on making platens to squish plastic between. What I've been doing previously is I've got this big wooden box right here, you can see, and I've been putting the plastic in here, putting the lid on, squeezing it tight with clamps. There's a bunch of issues with this. One, you're putting a lot of force on the lid. You can see this is cracked already. I've been chasing it with that big piece of plastic to kind of reinforce this. The other thing is it's really hard to make anything even. And then I'm limited to how thick this can be by the width of the 2x4, 3.5 inches. And I do have some plans for some really thick stuff. So what I've done is I went to Menards, big box store here in central United States, and I bought these shelves, about $1.50. They're countertops, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to make two of these. One's going to be the top, one's going to be the bottom. We're going to glue them together, and then we are going to bolt them top to bottom, so then we can squeeze out whatever we want. Put little molds in there, little jigs in there. Some people have a big press that they use. And I thought about making something like that, but as you can see, the shop is pretty congested. Adding a big tool is probably not the best idea. The general plan is they put this nice smoothness on the bottom of the MDF here on the bottom of the shelves. I'm going to take a sander and buff that off, and then we're going to glue these together. We're going to biscuit joint the edges, put it together, clamp it down, make a top and a bottom, and that's the general plan. Alright, so I got all four of these panels sanded. They're not perfect, but that should be good enough to hold some glue. That took about a half hour. And then we are going to glue these surfaces. Right here, glue. And we're also going to put biscuits, plate biscuits, to tie these together. Like that. And I think this should work for such a small section. No, I didn't do any calcs, but it's only, 12.5 inches wide ish. Yeah, 12.5. Wow, look at that. And here in the middle, the moment should be relatively small. And if we plate joint these together, we got 1.5 inches to resist it. We'll probably on the bottom side put a couple screws up to kind of bind them together. All right. So these are supposed to be 36 inches long. Hey, look at that. So we're going to put in, 4 or 5 biscuits on each side. Bloop. We're also going to do them on, so it's going to be this face, glue it together, glue on the surface, clamp it up, and away we go. All right. I'm going to lay them out now, lay out the biscuits, and then we'll punch a couple in. Now, biscuits are pretty forgiving, but you got to make sure that when you set the plate down that it's the same on both sides. So if this is up on this side and this is supposed to be up, make sure that you cut it the same way both times. Set these off 3 inches and then 6 inches along. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, and we'll get this plugged up. And all right, and for those of you who've never used a biscuiter, it's a little bit loud. Putting in the ear protection. And then wash, rinse, and repeat, everybody. Wash, rinse, and repeat. And like anything, when you're doing stuff, make sure that you do a dry fit before you glue it up, because what is that? An ounce prevention, 2 kilos a cure, something like that. So we got, 6 biscuits. Maybe I should have prepped. The other thing is, before you do a glue up, make sure you get all your clamps handy, because that can kind of be a bother to figure out in the heat of the battle when everything is wet and tacky. So, and the nice thing, one of the nice things about biscuits is they're really forgiving. You know, you don't have to be super precise. People who are not Matthias Wendell can do this. If you're into woodworking, fine woodworking, Matthias is about as nice as they come, and he actually knows what he's talking about. So, trying to get that lined up. And this could be from things not being quite the right dimension. This is why you do the dry fit. This is why you do the dry fit. See, it's off by just a little bit. We're going to be able to beat that on. Let's see. And then alternatively, let's check this side. It could be because this is all, you know, store-bought scrap instead of, you know. And the reason I wanted to use the countertops is that laminate is pretty heat resistant. So when we put our 400 degree HDPE out, it shouldn't impact the plastic. And yeah, that's about it. It's relatively inexpensive. It's relatively smooth. So we shouldn't have to do a lot to finish them. And then I'm going to turn the camera off for the wackaroony because I don't want you to be exposed to that. Thanks. All right, so it will beat together. You can see here, I got it on there. So I think we're going to just glue it up, clamp it up, and smack it with a hammer. Well, not quite as forgiving as I'd hoped. Okay, so now that those are glued up, like so, we are going to let them sit overnight. This second one was way less forgiving than the first one. I had to take the biscuits out, which is why there's so many more clamps on it. See, that's the first one. This is the second one, so we're holding it together, and we're holding it together. The other thing is, if you are a bad person like me, and you use your table saw for stuff it's not intended for, make sure you clean it off. Probably should oil this thing like, you know, once every 10 years or something. But at least get the glue off. Try to take care of your stuff. And it may or may not take care of you. All right, well, today is tomorrow. And I took these guys out of the clamps. You can see that the biscuits did not work out quite as well as I'd hoped. You can see there's a crack. Should still be good enough for what we're trying to do. So the intent is that we are going to bolt the top and the bottom together. We got these guys. So we're going to bolt the top and bottom together. We want the smooth sides in. And then we'll put a piece of plastic in the middle and squish it. That's the general idea, and then we can put different molds and shapes and whatever around. So what we're going to do, because I do not want to get super duper precise in my measurements, because it's a great way to have things go wrong. And this is not a Swiss watch. This is a, well, I don't know what it is. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to clamp these pieces together so that when I take them over to the drill press, they stay together. See, that's nice and lined up on this side. Because it doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to work. You might ask, why am I using these clamps today when I used the twist top clamps yesterday? These are good clamps, but they don't put nearly as much force out as the twist clamps do. What I just found out is that, let's see, we got 3 1/4. I think when I set the drill press up, we don't have 3 1/4 underneath the bit. Could probably sneak that up a little. Guess that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna sneak the bit up a little. Bring this up so it's a little more eye level. There you go. And we'll do that. That way we can punch all the holes through. And and I choked it up all the way. So we'll have to do this in 2 passes. What we'll do is we'll drill out one side, clamp it on there, go through it with the hand drill to mark the locations, and then bring it back over to the drill press to ream them out. All right, well, I'm going to finish marking it up, and we'll bring it right back. All right, so just going to line this guy up. The points we laid out, we got them every 6 inches, roughly going down the edge. Some of you might ask why I don't lay these out on both sides. Well, again, precision requires, you have to be precise for precision. And if you do something like this, you don't have to be that precise. So if everything doesn't line up perfectly, that's okay. Just keep on going. Well, I'm sure you get the idea. Okay, well, we got just a little bit of tear out here on the bottom. So when we do this on the next one, we're going to make sure that the side that we want the inside is going to be up. Okay, so that the tear out comes out on the sacrificial side. And then I'm putting the smooth sides towards the plastic, because I think that smooth plastic is going to be easier for me to work with, less sanding, so on and so forth. We're going to just line these guys up. And again, this is not a precision deal. This is more of a trying to be consistent deal. That's about right. Get that clamped up. Make sure these go through the butamus. Alright, now I'll go get the bit. We're going to take down each one of these holes, tag them, and then we'll take them to the drill press and finish it up. Alright, so like I said, we're going to just line these guys up. It's pretty straight. I guess I'm going to just go on all the way through. But you get the idea. We'll do that all the way around, and then we'll come back. We're going to put the bolts in and lock it down. Okay. So the intent here is we're going to take the impact gun. Hopefully go the right direction. We're going to use it to suck up these. I can get a better view of that. These, what are they called? Pronged T-nuts. Uh-oh. Well, it doesn't look like it's gonna not spin. Let's try that one more time. Because the whole point of this was for those to not spin. Pick another one that's not so critical. Maybe this one. We'll drill that out and then I'll bring you back in a second. I think we got the technique figured out here. So we got nut. We're using 3/8, which is driven by 9/16. We got the fender washer. And then we got the T-nut. And I think the trick here is I can just hold it while we're sucking it up. And see? Nice and tight. All right, well, we're going to just do that 11 more times, and we're going to have a press. And that's how this is going to work. We're going to use these bolts to suck it up. So that the bolts are going to be our clamping mechanism. All right? I made a mistake earlier. The easiest way to put these guys on is to do what you're supposed to do and beat them on with a hammer. Unga bunga. All right, there we go. That's the press. Then tomorrow we'll heat up some plastic and give her a squeeze. So first, safety organization. I'm using these work gloves inside these like dishwashing gloves. The plastic doesn't tend to stick to them too bad. I've melted the block of plastic down in the oven. Again, we're about 400 degrees Fahrenheit. I've got our template set up here. I went ahead and put in some 3/4 inch wood just to kind of place the block of plastic in here, squish it down, any extra will come over here. We got our bolts all prepped over here, 9/16 wrench prepped, impact gun prepped, fan section prepped, and we're going to pop this out of the oven. Oh, yeah, so we're going to use some pallet wood for a heat pad. Pop this out. Ooh. That's okay. Set that down, close the door. All right. Hey, buddy, it's going to get loud here in a second. You want to put your headphones on?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So we got the plastic all prepped up here. We're going to put the lid on. Oh, I know what we're going to do. These are 4-inch bolts, 6-inch bolts, 5-inch bolts. I'm use a slightly longer bolt to suck that down tight up here, since it's not quite long enough to go through. Okay. Okay, there we go. Nice and tight. See, it's getting nice and tight down there. Okay, we're going to okay, pop this on its side. Okay, you can see it's nice and snug. Nice and snug, nice and snug. All the way around. That's a good question. We are done. We are going to turn this off. Okay, yeah, so we're going to let this sit for a little while the plastic cools off. It was something I was curious about. It's been about a half hour, 40 minutes since I put this block of plastic in here. Clearly didn't use enough melted plastic for whatever, but again, demonstration purposes. The thing that's really interesting is it's only barely warm on the outside. Barely warm. So I was going to try to unmold this, but given how big it is, I'm going to give it another half hour or so. But I thought it was interesting how well insulated it is compared to the box I was using previously. We gave this a little while. I got bored. We're going to go ahead and take it out. Okay, that is still hot, but it's 3/4 inches thick. It's hot. I think it will make up a jig. I want to make some really thin stuff, like, 1/16 of an inch or whatever. And I know this is ugly, but oh, that's a bad joint. Okay. I know this is kind of ugly, but these are the colors of plastic I got. But it's still hot. It's still very hot. We'll let that cool down a little. It's got some flex to it. So, nice and flat, and we can make whatever we want out of it. I'll throw this back in the recycle hopper, and away we go.